Hello, America. Me again, here to annoy. Now, you want fact? Here we go. The U.S. Constitution, Article 6, Paragraph 2, makes treaties adopted by the U.S. part of the law of the land. Thus, a violation of the UN Charter, Hague 4, Geneva Convention, etc., is also a violation of U.S. Federal Law 18, U.S.C. 2441, War Crimes Act of 1996. Makes committing a war crime defined as a grave breach in any international convention signed at Geneva 12, August 1949, or any protocol to such convention to which the United States is a party, punishable by fine, imprisonment, or death. And the following treaties and charters, which define wars of aggression, war crimes against peace, and crimes against humanity, laws and customs of war on land, Hague 4, Article 55, the occupying state shall be regarded only as the administrator of public buildings, real estate, forest, and agricultural estates belonging to the hostile state and situated in the occupied country. It must safeguard the capital of these properties, administer them in accordance with the rules of usufruct, UN General Assembly Reservation 3314, defines the crime of aggression as the use of armed force by a state against the sovereignty, territorial integrity, or political independence of another state, or in any other manner inconsistent with the Charter of the United Nations. Nuremberg Tribunal Charter. Principle 6. The crimes hereinafter set out are punishable as crimes under international law. A. Crimes against peace. Planning, preparation, initiation, or waging of war of aggression, or a war in violation of international treaties. War crimes, murder, ill treatment of civilian population, or in an occupied territory, murder or ill treatment of prisoners of war, plunder of public or private property, wanton destruction of cities or towns or villages, crimes against humanity, murder, extermination, and other inhuman acts done against any civilian population when such acts are done, in execution of or in connection with any crime against peace or in any war crime. Geneva Convention A, Protocol 1, Article 75. Persons who are in the power of a party to the conflict shall be treated humanely in all circumstances. The following acts are and shall remain prohibited, whether committed by a civilian or by a person by a person or military agents. Violence to the life, health, or physical or mental well-being of persons. Outrages upon personal dignity, in particular humiliating and degrading treatment, enforced prostitution, and any form of indecent assault, and the threats to commit any of the foregoing acts. Protocol 1, Article 51. The civilian population shall not be the object of attack, acts, or threats of violence, the primary purpose of which is to spread terror among the civilian population, are prohibited. Parties shall do everything feasible to verify that the objectives to be attacked are neither civilian nor civilian objects. An attack shall be canceled or suspended if it becomes apparent the object is not a military one. Protocol 1, Article 70. The parties of the conflict, and I'm just going to keep reading on all the laws that have been broken here by our president. The parties to the conflict shall allow to facilitate rapid and unimpeded passage of all relief, consignments, equipment, and personnel, even if such assistance is destined for civilian population of the adverse party. Protocol 1, Article 35. In any armed conflict, the right of the parties to choose methods or means of warfare is not unlimited. It is prohibited to employ methods or means of warfare which are intended or may be expected to cause widespread, long-term, severe damage to the environment. That would be your irradiated plutonium. Persons taking no active part in the hostilities, including members of armed forces who have laid down their arms, shall in all circumstances be treated humanely to this end. The following act, in addition to those listed in Article 75 above, are and shall remain prohibited: the passing of sentences and carrying out of executions without previous judgment pronounced by a regularly constituted court, the FISA court, affording all the judicial guarantees which are recognized as indispensable by civilized peoples. Summates a lot. Convention 3, Article 5. Should any doubt arise to whether persons have committed a belligerent act or have fallen into the hands of the enemy, are prisoners of war under this convention. Such persons shall enjoy the protection of the present convention until such time as their status has been determined to be competent by a competent tribunal. Convention 4, Article 33. No protected persons may be punished for an offense he or she has not personally committed. Collective penalties and likewise all measures of intimidation or of terrorism are prohibited. Now, the oath of office and unlawful orders. The military oath taken at the time of induction or commissioning reads, I, state your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. There is considerable evidence that Bush's plans are fundamentally illegal from both an international and domestic perspective. If the war is indeed illegal, members of the armed forces have a legal and moral obligation to resist illegal orders, according to their oath of induction. The Uniform Code of Military Justice 809, Article 90-20 makes it clear that a military personnel need to obey the lawful command of his superior officers, the lawful order of a warrant officer, the lawful general order, the lawful order, and they're all listed as articles. In each case, military personnel have an obligation and a duty only to obey lawful orders and indeed an obligation to disobey. Unlawful orders, including orders by the President that do not comply to the UCMJ, the moral and legal obligation is to the U.S. Constitution and not to those who would issue unlawful orders, especially if those are orders in direct violation of the Constitution and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Among the international laws and the treaties that a U.S. preemptive attack on Iraq may violate are the Hague Convention on Land Warfare of 1899, which was reaffirmed by the U.S. at the 1946 Nuremberg International Military Tribunals, resolution of the non-use of nuclear weapons and prevention of nuclear war, adopted UN General Assembly December 12, 1980, Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide December 9, 1948, adopted by Resolution 260, Part 3, A of the UN General Assembly Geneva Convention relative to the protection of civilian persons in time of war, adopted on August 12, 1949, by the Diplomatic Conference for the Establishment of International Conventions for the Protection of Victims of War, Convention on the Prohibition of Military or any other hostile use of environmental modification techniques, 1108, United Nations Score TS 151, October 5, 1978, the Charter of the United Nations, the Nuremberg Principles, which defines as a crime against peace, planning and preparation, initiation or waging of war, of aggression or a war in violation of international treaties, agreements or assurances, or participation in common place or in a common plan or conspiracy for accomplishment of any of the foregoing, many of these treaties and others. See the Yale Avalon Project, his old alma mater. They have an Avalon Project. Also see a letter to Canadian soldiers sent by Hamilton Action for Social Change. And I'm going to leave you guys some links so you can read these for yourself. As Hamilton Action for Social Change has noted under the Nuremberg Principles, you have an obligation not to follow the orders of leaders who are preparing crimes against peace and crimes against humanity. We are all bound by what U.S. Chief Prosecutor Robert K. Jackson declared in 1948. The very essence of the Nuremberg Charter is the individual have intentional duties which transcend the national obligations of obedience. Imposed by the individual state at the Tokyo War Crimes Trial, it was further declared, anyone with knowledge of illegal activity and an opportunity to do something about it, it is a potential criminal under international law unless the person takes affirmative measures to prevent commission of the crimes. In a report written by Andrew Lichterman, John Burroughs of the Lawyers Committee on Nuclear Policy and Western States Legal Foundation, and Michael Ratner, president of the Center for Constitutional Rights, New York, and Jules Lobel, professor of law at the University of Pittsburgh, entitled The United Nations Charter and the Use of Force Against Iraq, noted that under the UN Charter,